I've been covering Rashad Richey's empty promise to the students of Stemmers Run Middle School for the past 3 months. If you're not aware of it, a man embezzled the school's candy fundraising account, leaving the local PTSA high and dry to the tune of $18,000. Rashad stepped in and promised to give the PTSA the money.
I will pay the balance personally.
But after much coercing from me and others, only bothered to pony up $2,000. What a scumbag. If you watch The Office, you'll know that Michael Scott did something similarly terrible.
Local businessman pledges college tuition to third graders.
He promised to pay the college tuition of a graduating high school class, but had to admit to the kids that he didn't have the money. What a scumbag. So, who was the bigger scumbag? Michael Scott or Rashad Richey? Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
And away we go. Category 1. Irreparable damage. Michael Scott destroyed the college dreams of an entire graduating class of underprivileged students. That's horrible. While Rashad Richey may have wiped out a middle school's graduation ceremony, that doesn't come anywhere near what Michael Scott did. Score, Michael Scott. Category 2. Corrupt intentions. Michael Scott's heart was probably in the right place. He honestly thought he would be rich enough to afford to pay for those kids' educations, no matter how unrealistic such an idea was. Rashad Richey made his promise for one major purpose: self-promotion. It is hard to believe that he ever intended to give those kids any money at all. He finally forked over a few bucks, but only because he was hounded into it by the Johnny Walker Dread Show. Scumbag score, Rashad Richey. Category 3. Shameless audacity. To get Johnny Walker Dread off his back, Rashad Richey agreed to pay only about 18% of what he promised. That's so f***ing miserly. Michael Scott offered to give each student a laptop battery to make up for his promise. If Michael Scott had purchased laptop computers for each student instead of just batteries, then perhaps this would be a tie. Scumbag score, Michael Scott. Category 4. Lame excuses. That Michael Scott overpromised is an understatement. The amount of money needed to cover the college tuition of a couple of dozen kids went far beyond his means. On the flip side, I now wonder if Rashad Richey has as much money as he tries to portray publicly. Regardless, he should have had a far easier time paying $18,000. Scumbag score, Rashad Richey. Category 5. Blatant hypocrisy. Say what you want about Michael Scott, but he never chastised others for not donating their money to the school children's tuition. The same cannot be said for Rashad Richey, who criticized the owner of the candy company for not helping recover Stemmers Run Middle School's money, even though they donated more money than Rashad Richey. That takes a lot of nerve and earns Rashad Richey the scumbag score. Category 6. Self-serving promotion. Michael Scott made his promise, but he never made a big deal out of it. All we saw was one local news headline. Rashad Richey, on the other hand, not only boasted about his promise on Twitter, he even wrote a story for his own online newspaper and published a video on his indisputable show crowing about his generosity. That's nuts. Scumbag score, Rashad Richey. Category 7. Personal accountability. It took some coaxing, but Michael Scott faced the music. He went to the school, spilled the beans, and sincerely apologized. And in the end, it seems that he was genuinely sorry for what he had done. We don't know what Rashad Richey told the PTSA director, but there is no freaking way that he came clean with his unwillingness to pay or bothered to apologize for it. Scumbag score, Rashad Richey. Category 8, overall detestability. While Michael Scott has many flaws, and his narcissism led him to make a terrible promise in this episode, he remains a somewhat sympathetic character. We all have a little Michael Scott in us. He is not without his good traits. Deep down, we know he means well. He just doesn't have the self-awareness to guide him towards treating others properly. On the other hand, you have to be an egotistical maniac to relate to Rashad Richey. His narcissism is off the charts, and it is hard to believe that he has ever done anything good for anyone else without heaps of gratification from others as the primary motivator. Scumbag score, Rashad Richey. The final scumbag score, Rashad Richey 6, Michael Scott 2. We have a winner.
But it will not be shame on me.